Hey everyone, so a lot of you have been asking about getting coaching from me, so I'm going to start doing some sessions on stream for free, with the only requirement being that you have to have a VOD uploaded to YouTube that I can watch. The easiest way to do this is just to use a program like Ascent or Outplayed, and then just come over here and upload the file to YouTube. It's very, very easy to do. To make it as fair as possible, I'm going to use a raffle system to just randomly select someone from Twitch chat, and I'm going to have some EU-friendly and some NA-friendly streams in order to accommodate everyone. This video is basically just a good example of how a session would typically work, although you don't have to join Discord if you don't want to, like if you're uncomfortable talking or whatever. As always, if you did want coaching off stream, please check the MLA link in the description below. Thank you guys so much, and let me know what you think of the video. Big Ziggs versus Zed. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, alright, you can see my screen, right? Okay, yeah, do you, is there any, like, context or whatever you want to give me before the start? Like, is there anything in particular you want me to look at, or, you know, give me the rundown of the game?
I actually don't remember the specifics. It went well for me. Zed is a matchup that Ziggs struggles with, I would say. I think that the key is just keeping your HP higher and spacing so he doesn't have an opportunity to really go all in on you. Ziggs as a whole is a champion that does not necessarily have reliable damage, and Zed has a lot in his kit to avoid taking damage. So, like, hitting him with ults is scarce unless you're chaining with CC.
Yeah, definitely.
And my team doesn't necessarily have that in reliable ways. I've got a fraud of an Ezreal champion on my team, which is devastating.
Don't we know it?
No, but I thought that this would just be a good VOD as a whole, because I think a lot of my issues that I'm running into aren't specific, like, hey, I'm having like big micro problems or whatever. It's more, I want to look at translate. Like, when I lose a game and I've just gotten smoked and laid by an Akali, like, sure, there's individual matchup knowledge that I probably need to gain or threat assessment I need to develop, but I want to make sure I'm not getting lost in the sauce of the mid-game macro.
Yeah.
And I think that those are some of the learnings that I really want to absorb that's going to take me to reliably winning like those 30%ers, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, we can definitely look out for that. All right, so I guess like very initial thing I would start with is that like most melees are kind of weak until level 3. You know, obviously not all of them. Like things like Yasuo, Akali, Aurelia, like they can spike really, really hard at like level 1. But again, most of the time, like your goal and Ranger's melee is to take as much advantage as you can of like the melee champ until level 3, you know, because like level 3, you know, you can imagine like Fizz getting all his abilities, Zed getting all his abilities or whatever. Like they are just going to stat check you at that point. So it's all about like how much punishment can you get done before that. So one of the like most key parts to making sure that you have plenty of time is to go for like, you want to go for slow pushes rather than fast pushes, because one, you don't really gain a whole lot by the wave being close to him. You know, like most melees early, like they want the wave close to them so they can run you down, or so they can avoid getting like ordered for free or like poked for free. And potentially it even like makes you more gankable. So I would say like your default is you want to either like 2 wave crash. So what this normally looks like is you would slow push the first wave, and then you kind of like, you'd start autoing a lot in the second wave. If you're really greedy, you can go for 3. I think it's like pretty hard to pull off, honestly, these days, because they made the minions just push so much quicker. But the whole point is that like you want to harass and deny as much as you can on like while the wave's pushing in, and then you want to get a lot of damage on them under turret, and then the wave's going to come back to you when they hit level 3, and at that point you can start to play safe. So on this wave, like honestly, even from this point, you should probably stop pushing other than last hitting, because there's no way that this guy's like ever, you know, contesting this push, you know, like he just can't keep up. And you, again, like you would benefit a lot more from having like lots of time to like harass this guy on the way in, you know, because like this here, it's like you can harass on the turret, right? But like you could harass a lot more if the wave were a little further out to where it's like not so risky to
a casual tower shot.
Yeah, that's definitely not ideal either. Yeah, so that's like kind of fine, but again, like, so here you're gonna have this like level 2 advantage, which is good, but it's quite difficult for you to actually punish it, because again, 1, it's close to turret, and 2, because the wave mostly got cleared, your level 2 advantage is only gonna last for like 3 seconds or something. You know, it's gonna be very short. Whereas again, if it's pushed slower, you're gonna be level 2, and he's still gonna be like an entire creep, or maybe even a creep and a half away from being level 2. And in fact, here he actually got 2 before you, so there wasn't like a single window for you to punish.
Sure.
So like just in general, a good rule is that like you want to like slow push to like create like advantages. You start to fast push when there's like a lot you can do. You know, like if you, for example, like you can push in roam or like push in base, or you think you can take plates, or I don't know, grubs are up, dragons up, but you know, pure 1v1 slow pushing is normally better. Yeah, so then this is a really awkward spot. So like I said before, you know, it's really important that the second wave goes under the turret, because what you need is you need that wave where they're hitting level 3 to come back out in the middle, because what you really don't want is for him to hit level 3 when the wave's in this spot, because then you're in
Sure. Then he
big
can run me
trouble.
down.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. So like right here, like if we pause right now, like he is really, really happy with this, because you can
Yeah.
probably get it under in time, but like you're gonna have to invest a lot of resources. You know, you're gonna have to use a lot of
Yeah.
mana on it, and like, you know, especially in these D shield second wind cucks, like it's gonna be hard enough to push them out of lane, even if you use your mana well. You know, and so like if you're
Sure.
forced to, you know, blow up the wave a lot, like that makes it even harder. And I think you got kind of lucky here. Like in my mind, this guy being level 3, he can just like, especially once your
He should be
Q's
running
down,
on me.
yeah, he can just like W on you, or he can like pull the wave up. Like this should be really punishing. So like it kind of worked out, but you know, that's pretty risky, you know? Like you really want to
Sure.
make sure that that's like more consistent, because yeah, otherwise you're gonna really, really struggle, you know, as you get like higher alert. Oh my god, that was so
That's so
close.
close.
Damn, that would
So
have been sick.
I'm always fishing for the free barbecue chicken.
Yeah,
That's like
that's
part of the
crazy.
Mr.
The
Meds game
barbecue
plan.
chicken, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so another thing here is that like, so in general, if you can, like the more cooldowns you can use on your opponent, the better. Because every cooldown that you use to push the wave or the last hit or whatever, is a cooldown that one, like you didn't use on them, so like that's kind of lost
Mhm.
pressure. But two, it gives them like a window to punish you. You know what I mean? So like it feels good to queue these creeps, you know, because like you don't want to miss them. But even if you get them,
Sure.
you know, like again, like this is running you you're not getting damage on him,
Yeah.
and like now with your ability that you're putting points in down, like it's really easy for him to zone you off the wave. And so one thing I kind of want you to like get in the habit of thinking about is that like holding cooldowns like can sometimes be better than using them, if you're going to use them badly, that is, you know, like ideally
Sure.
you would just like use them on Zed at like, you know, when he's going to last hit or whatever, but just kind
Yeah.
of realize that there is a cost for like using an ability even if he doesn't punish him, right? Because then there's simply the opportunity cost of, you know, you could have used it on him, but a lot of the time it's even worse, and like you will, you know, you'll get like giga zoned off the wave, which is kind of what's happening here, and then it becomes harder and harder, right? Because like, you know, you can't just walk up and order this, so you're forced to queue it, and then it's kind of the cycle repeats, right? Like you're once again, like you're forced away from the wave, and it's like, you know, it's all the way
Yeah.
out here instead of closer to you. So it kind of becomes like harder and harder to recover. And fortunately, like you outscale, so it's not the end of the world if you don't, you know, get ahead or whatever. But you really again want to avoid this. And I think if you might just find that if you go for the two-wave crash, that a lot of these things just kind of fix
Disappear.
themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Like part of it
Okay.
is just because you've ended up in this spot, you've got to be like way
Yeah.
more disciplined with, you know, everything really. Okay, so this is fine. I mean, this is kind of chill actually. Like comes and helps you push a little bit. Sucks to be but it's
That's the
okay.
Ziggs story. If you like
Yeah.
do anything except for Q, you're out of mana.
Okay, so we get chapter, we come back in the map. This is looking pretty good, so I'm pretty happy about this. Like I'd say like despite, you know, mistakes made in lane, I'd say you're winning. Like you're in a pretty good spot. Um come drop some vision. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I mean you can mostly just farm from range, like that seems pretty good. I mean just kind of chill. Okay, one thing, it's like pretty it's pretty minor, but I think is like kind of important. So like one of the big advantages of playing like longer range champs in mid is that it's much easier for you to hit the enemy wave before they can hit yours. And the earlier you hit the
Yeah.
wave, like the more tempo you get to do whatever it is you want to do. Now you could say for Ziggs that like there's nothing you can really use the tempo for, right? Like maybe you don't want to roam or whatever. But at the very worst case, like you might be able to get like a couple extra orders on the turret if they're late to the wave, or you might be able
Mhm.
to, if they use cooldowns to contest the push, you can just harass them because you know you don't have any cooldowns. So like right here, it's like really nitpicky, but you should actually be hitting this wave already. Like
Hit the
right
wave.
here, yeah, you should actually be trying to cue the wave from far away now because you know if the
Sure.
wave goes in and he has to use everything to clear it, like he's fucked, you know,
He
like then he
can't
has
roam and
no,
have stuff. That makes
yeah, he
sense.
can't roam and he can't use anything on you either. So like the quicker you do this and the more like cooldowns he's forced to use, the better. And then here, so like what you're kind of trying to do with these creeps is you're trying to like bait him to use cooldowns on them. So like you don't want to walk up until like he uses stuff, right? But if you notice
Sure.
like these little things here, like there's a Q
He
and
can
there's
come
an
auto
A.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, like that's like a little window here where like now you could, if you want, like you could probably staunch him like a little bit. You know, again, you're not gonna be able to do it all the
Yeah.
time, but take this as another example, right? Like you can start hitting this wave already, and if like this wave is dead before he even comes back to lane, then it's super easy for you to, you know, again, wait for him to use cooldowns and then harass him at a turret. So the big thing I would kind of think about here is that like being on the wave early, like has a lot of value. So obviously if you're doing something, like if you're late to the wave for a reason, like that's fine, you know. But if you're just kind of like this should feel weird where you're just kind of like sitting in the middle of nowhere. I mean
Yeah.
that's good, but yeah, actually that worked out well. But you know, there's times
It
here, for
missing him was
example,
worked out.
yeah, like this where it's like kind of a late ward and you're like late on this wave. That all feels pretty weird. And again, like you know, maybe it's you're not going to get a ton, but this is actually a good example of what it should look like. So here, whether you did it on purpose or not, you actually killed this wave pretty quick. You know, like this wave is dead before Zed's even here. So the
Yeah.
really good thing about
Yeah.
this is, yeah,
I wanted
like
to have moved towards grubs.
yeah, I mean this is super solid. Like you're around grubs if they contest, but also if he uses cooldowns on the wave, like you can fish for harass. So this little thing right here, you want to like recreate this, you know? Like this is
Okay.
perfect, basically. Okay. Yeah, not a ton you can do there, I don't think. We're just fine, just keep farming. Looks like you're kind of destroying this guy too, so that's nice. Yeah, nice. Okay, so
Yeah, I try
he's
and use the backside of those walls where I can to like fling things over into the wave.
yeah, I like that. Like especially if you are like scared to walk up because their junglers around or whatever. Okay, you decide to say you've got TP, so I think that's totally fine. Good, I like punishing the off-tempo roam as well. Okay, we should go Ludens and Dark Seal. Yeah, okay, I'm down.
Best item.
That's right. I'm glad I don't have to give the Dark Seal speech, you know? You've had it many
Well,
a time.
I don't have a refillable, so that's a
That is
crime.
true, but I don't know if you ever had time to buy it, so I'll give you a pass. Okay, so right here, I think you can probably get away with this because you have W, but another like rule that I like to use personally is like first wave back on the map, like push and set up vision first because you know the worst time to die is you deploy back on the map like this and you get killed and suddenly like you go home, you have no gold to spend and you just lose everything, you know?
Yeah.
So again, like you see Teemo top, I think that's their top laner, right? Like I think they have Trundle. I can't remember who their jungler is. I think it's Trundle. So here it's like you could maybe get away with this, but it's so much safer to just real quick go and drop a ward
Board
somewhere.
first.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter where it is really. Just get a ward down because if you die right now, it's gonna be super miserable.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean if you can get away with this is great, but you know we really don't want to lose a flash or get chunked or anything. And like especially this again, like. Actually, do you see Trundle here? No, you see Darius. So this here, like, you want to be able to do this. Like, what you're doing here is good. Like, you want to punish this guy being base. But, you know,
Yeah.
again, with no vision bot side and no vision top side, like, you are kind of asking for it, you know? And maybe you won't get punished for it
Sure.
this game, but, I mean, you're going to get
Yeah, this
punished
is
for it
something I've been
eventually.
punished for a bunch of times that I know I
Yeah.
need to be more conscious of.
Yeah, I think that's really, really key. Okay. So this here, this is
This is tragic here because I managed to not get any damage on the Trundle at all, and he ends up getting executed,
oh damn, yeah,
which is
that
just
is really
brutal.
rough. Okay, so this is I mean I think this is like not too bad. Like I think okay, if there is one thing to be kind of like aware of here, it's that if you're in a matchup where like you're scared of getting harassed in any way, like so again like Zed long range harass or mage harass, or even like a melee that you need to kite out, like boots go a long way. One of the like weakest things, I guess, about like mages is they tend to have like really low base move speed. You know, you got 325. Like in other words, you're really fucking slow. And so
He's
like
the
this guy,
slowest champion in the game.
yeah, that doesn't surprise me. This guy here, like not only does he have boots, but he's also fast. You know, like he's a melee. So like look at this, like 370 ms to 325 means that if you don't have boots, it's super easy for him to just like run you down at any time. So again, like if you can get away with like the Darksteel here or whatever, like you probably should. But also like tier 1 boots are like really valuable early, and honestly you probably should buy it over Darksteel there, just because like if you're playing against like Knight Zed, right? Like if he doesn't get a kill, you know, again, he's like kind of fucked, right? Like you're just gonna get outscale him. So having like no boots into like a ganking jungler and an ignite mid laner is probably pretty greedy, you know? And I guess like if you're willing to make the trade-off, like that's fine, right? Like if you decide, okay, like I'm just gonna play a little more careful, whatever, like I can deal with it, then that you can do that, but just be like really consciously aware of like, you know, you are playing really greedily, you know? But yeah, that does suck that you didn't kill this guy.
That's so brutal.
Okay, so we grab the boots. Yeah, honestly, it's not too bad. Like, wow, okay, this guy stole your whole wave, which is a bit annoying, but we'll
Yeah,
take the turret.
is what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
Gotta get those little minis. Give me that gold.
Oh my god, so close. Yeah, he has mad resist. That's
I
kind
can't.
of
I can't. I
cringe.
can't get him. Yeah, and I know that
Yeah.
Zed just ulted me, so I know he doesn't have a ton of juice, but still
Yeah, no,
brutal.
I don't think you could have chased. I think that was fine. Okay, so next thing I think is the like itemization thing. So like typically, and I mean I think we've talked about this before, you know, like your mage itemization is basically always, you know, chapter item, then like situational item, right? And then it's like decap, void, or whatever, and then like
Right.
the other one, you know. The thing is though,
Yeah.
like if you're in a game where you're playing triple AP, you need to change your build. So like this game, like you've got what's that champ? Kennen, you've got Twitch, so like you've got 2 other AP champs on your team. And also like they have champs that are building matter resist. Like if we go back and look here, so like we've got Trundle
The
with matter resist.
bloodletters angle.
Yeah, you can do that. It actually doesn't matter in my mind too much what you do, but there's like a couple things, a couple options you have to do. So this game, you have to either go like chapter item into, you can go like a pen item second. So you could, for example, go Crypt Bloom, you could go Bloodletter, or you could go Death Cap. But you need to make sure here that you have Death Cap and Crypt Bloom or Death Cap and Void or whatever in your 2-3. Because what's going to happen with this
Sure.
build is like if you go Liandry here, one of these items is going to get delayed and you're going to end up like doing no damage. You know what I mean? So this is kind of like ideally you don't do this because, you know, like I mean there's a reason why triple AP or whatever sucks, right? But if you get forced in this situation, like again, you've either got to go pen second or you've got to go death cap second and pen third. So yeah, that's like pretty important. And I also think that one other thing is that when you're, so Liandry is an item, right? Like Liandry is, it's a pretty weak item in the build path unless like you really use the mask well. You know, like the main reason for Liandry is like the completed item. If you're like a bruiser champ, like, you know, something like Aurora, so something that's more like a fighter, then the haunting guy's health and stuff is kind of useful, you
Yeah.
know? Like you can
I
do
think
this.
bloodletter could have made sense here because health doesn't feel like a wasted stat into Zed.
Yeah, yeah, it's
That
decent.
feels like there's some value there.
Yeah, you could do it. I think like you don't apply it the best, but like at the same time, like someone on your team should probably have it, you know, and like chances are,
Yeah.
especially in this elo, like that'll probably be you. But the reason I bring up like the build path thing is because, you know, one issue you run into here is like if you go an item with like a somewhat weaker build path, such as Liandry, and they have matter resist, like you're just not gonna be able to kill anyone, you know, because like you don't have any AP, you don't have any
Yeah.
pen, and like you just won't be able to get any gold. So despite being like kind of accelerated a little, like you're actually in a pretty big trough almost, because like you just can't get the gold that you need, you know, like you just can't do damage to
Yeah.
people. So I think like obviously if you want to commit to Bloodletter, like you have to buy mask anyway, but you know, one of the nice things about going say
Yeah.
Crypt Bloom here is like you do get the what's it called, the Blighting Jewel, which is really nice. Okay, so let's go back a little bit on this one. So mid game here, in the mid game, right? Like I always say this as a rule, like TP is what like gives you permission to side lane.
Permission to
Yeah,
side lane, yeah.
that's like the banger. So if you use TP, you've got to really know that like what you're TPing for gives you something, right? In other words, like TP is a
Yeah.
pretty big investment, so it's got to lead to something. So like if we look at this, like before this fight even begins, right? Or like maybe when you think about TPing now, think about like what comes after. So like Dragon's down, Herald's down, Atacon's down,
Mhm.
Baron's down. In other words, the main things that are going to win us the game, like none of them are up. So in my
Sure.
mind, the only reason to TP on this would be one, you're like insanely fucking strong and you think you're just going to kill everyone, but that's not the case, right? Like you're actually kind of weak, just because of
Yeah,
like the
1,200 gold
current
unspent.
MR. Yeah, exactly, and that's a good point. Like you have 1,200 extra gold. The other thing is like I don't think there are any like bounties or anything here, so it's not like you want to TP in and suddenly like you kill this Ezreal or what? No, what that champ is? It's Teemo. You kill this Teemo and you get like 1,000 gold off him. Maybe that would be worth it. But here it's like okay,
Sure.
similar to the early game, like Zed is roaming off tempo. And the way you punish an off tempo roam in the early game is the same as the mid game. Like if Zed goes mid here,
Like, yeah.
yeah, you just take the stop turret because yeah, the fight just doesn't really matter, honestly. So like you can just
Yeah,
get
makes sense.
like a top wave, a turret, maybe even another top wave, and then suddenly, you're rich as fuck, like you're gonna
Yeah.
be in such a good spot. And instead it's like we TP and like we get a flash and there's like no real objectives. We put our TP on cooldown. So it's like it's not a terrible play, but it definitely wasn't the best thing you could have done. And
Mhm.
I see this in low reloads all the time, like people leaving their like side lane turrets open, and it's such an easy way to just make tons of gold. So I think the other thing I guess I always hear from low reload players is they say like, what do I do if my team's just fighting all the time? But the reality is you don't need to be at every fight. You want to be at like think about what comes after the fight. And if the answer is like not a whole lot, then maybe you don't even need to be there to begin with.
Yeah. This is something that I think I can instantly try and implement into my gameplay because, like, I would have said outside of you highlighting that right there, I would have thought that was a good use of TP. Join my team for a big team fight,
Yeah.
and but it totally makes sense. And now I can look to those timers, which I haven't. I have not been thinking about that when I've been using my because I was thinking, oh, I'm in the side lane and I have my TP, and that's why I can be here, and this is when I would
Yeah.
use it. But I
Yeah,
better
funnily
understand that now.
enough, like if you had done that play and Dragon were like 30 seconds from spawning, it would be like a really good TP. And I think that's
Yeah.
actually one of the like difficult things about like learning League is that like so much just depends on like other things and other people. Like another good example is like if you die at say 23 minutes with nothing up compared to if you die at like 24:30 and you give Baron, right? Like you can make the exact same mistake, but one of them is like almost irrelevant and the other is it's like almost instantly game losing. Okay, let's go back a little bit here. So here you kind of have like a choice to make, I guess, which is, well, there's a few things. First off, I think if you're really like aware, if you have 3 people dead post 20 minutes, just do Atacon. Like Atacon is, I would say below like maybe GM or Challenger. Atacon's more important than Baron, just because it's permanent and it's really easy to use. So if you wanted, you could probably spam ping your team to do this, but I mean, if they don't, then ultimately you probably don't want to solo it. So that's fine. Like we don't have to, but at least be aware, like have in your mind, like, okay, we made a pick post 20, like think about Atacon. Next thing, if you, there you go.
Someone was just telling me the other day that like Otacon as an objective is worth like several thousand gold.
Yeah,
Like in
it's pretty
statistics, like,
busted. Yeah. Yeah, I think particularly it like what makes it so good is it's super easy to use. Like Baron requires you to like I don't know, like deploy properly, not get picked when you go on the map, all that sort of stuff, but like with Atacon, it's like it just gives you stats, you just like group up and it's permanent. So it's real easy to use. So again, if you ever see a free Atacon, just like go for it. But okay, like even if we miss that, right? The next decision you've got to make is like, do you intend on contesting this dragon? Because you can probably give this dragon if you want. Like you guys got a lot top. But if you intend on contesting this dragon, you have to go spend your gold. Because similar to that TP before,
sure.
you really don't want to like fight with, 4 kills worth of gold in your inventory. So you could, for example, go home and buy Biting Jewel. You can go home and, buy Rod. You could buy Magi. Like there's plenty of things you can buy. Like you have ways to spend your gold. But this is like really awkward where we're like being drawn into contesting this with 1,400 gold in the inventory. Really don't want that to happen. And what's especially awkward is like if you go and contest it, but like you can't really contest it, and then you just give
Yeah.
top turret as well. Like that's the worst of both worlds. Like, you know, not only did we lose Dragon, but we also just gave Darius like 700 gold on top lane, which is
Hmm.
really, really bad. And here, you know, like this again, another great window to look at Atacon, which I think you can do, but you know, once again, like if we'd spent our gold, we wouldn't have to fight this with like
Yeah.
1900 gold in the inventory. So I think like it's very, very important that you be, I don't know, I guess like be careful, like looking for fights with like lots of gold in the inventory. And like
Sure.
if you do, you know, it almost certainly means like you missed a base at some point. You know, like
Hmm.
sometimes it can be hard to figure out in the game, but like definitely it's the sort of thing you go back and you're like, oh, I had a fight with 1500 gold. Like when could I have based? You know, because there's almost always a time where you could have. Okay, so we go to Blinding Jolt. Yeah, I kind of like that. Like, they're very magically resistant, these fellas. Nice big damage. Okay, you've got TP, so you're kind of just chilling. Ooh, the TP flank on Ziggs is pretty bold.
Watch this. Watch me cook.
Okay, yeah, let's see it.
Trust. Just trust. I might die here. I don't remember. Teemo Shroom.
Oh my god, yeah, you kind of pumped that guy. Okay, like this did work out, and I'm kind of down for a TP in general because, you know, like there is the potential that like if you hard lose this fight, even though you won't directly lose Baron, you know, like they could go and set up for it after and it might be hard to contest. I think you've just got to TP somewhere like, you know, below the red or like in this bush here. It can be kind of good to be thinking
Hmm.
about TPs before the fight, you know, like just kind of a little bit of awareness of like where wards are, because that's a pretty insane TP. You know, like not often are we
Yeah.
TPing into the backline on Ziggs and like expecting it to work. But hey, to your credit, like fuck yeah, it did work. Okay, let's see this. So we don't have TP, so we're forced to group. That's fine. Okay, Twitch dies for free. Not a whole lot you can do about that. This guy's a flash abuser. I think he's dead though. Nice. Okay, huge. So that's really good. That'll probably give you guys dragon. Well, let me go back a bit here. This I think is another example of where you just need to like go home and spend your money. So like if we look right now,
Hmm.
like the only thing you're ever going to be able to buy here is Magi or Rod, right? Like you're either selling Ring for Rod or you're buying Magi. I think you should probably just
Hmm.
buy the Rod, but you know, like those are your two options. And so like you have Rod right now, right? Like you can go home, spend
Yeah.
this money, and then like you'll be back on the map, like ready for any sort of like fight or anything that's gonna break out. So like this is really awkward because like you do have gold, but if a fight starts, you're going to have to go spend your money before it starts, which takes time, or you're gonna have
Hmm.
to just not fight it, right? And again, we don't really want that. So I think one like real consistent thing for you is like finding opportunities to spend your gold before fights, and you know, making sure that you're able to, you know, be in position. Like what you don't want is like fake pressure. You know, you don't want to be on the map where you you're kind of like there and you might even like bait your teammates into a fight, but you're not actually there. You know what I mean? It's fake
Not
pressure.
strong.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't actually do anything really. So yeah, not much we can do here. Just like keep farming. That's pretty nice. I mean, that's a kill. Okay, that's pretty brave, but I'm down. Okay, so if this happens, you probably just TP mid. It's kind of annoying that like there's no, yeah, like you're looking for
Hmm.
it. Yeah, it's kind of it is, I would say, at least partially your teammate's fault. Like someone should place a ward for you to TP to. Although honestly, if you manage to find Trundle bot, like this is not too bad. You know, like you can
Yeah.
waste a bit of this dude's time, but you probably should just TP into the Baron instead. But I like how you played this, by the way. Like that was really smart to make sure you went this way and not the other way.
Yeah. Lead him away.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so nice. Like you guys got Baron, you're gonna get Death Cap. All right, so you're Giga Juiced, and I like the TP as well. Like make sure you're on the map, ready to pressure. They get Dragon, but I'm pretty sure you guys can just kill them. Yeah, wow, you do a lot of damage. Okay, so you should be able to end with this Baron, I would think. Yeah, wow, Ziggs with Baron, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. He's just tower melting. It's insane. The dopamine's insane.
Okay, so
Flew a little too close to the sun there.
yeah, look, like you walked up and like obviously got hit by the Verisol, but one thing I'd be like a little aware of here is that one of the most important things in the mid game is like tracking your teammates and kind of seeing like what they are doing. You know what I mean? Like you need to be aware of like what your
Mhm.
teammates are up to. So like right here, like your Ezreal's and wants to base, you know. Now whether or not Ezreal should base is like kind of irrelevant. You know, like maybe he should stay here and help you pressure. But the moment Ezreal starts basing, like you're not allowed to do this anymore because, you
Yeah.
know, this is gonna be like your down numbers. Also, like Trundle's about to spawn and obviously Poppy's on the other side of the map. So I think this, like, yeah, you should be like more aware of the Varus, but the probably core issue here is that you're not really thinking about like what your teammates want. You know, like you see Ezra walking away, you see him really low on mana, but like you're just so fixated on just blowing up the turret.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
think I autoed the tier 3 and saw how much damage I did, and then
yeah,
I saw those other towers, and I just, you know, the animal
yeah,
instincts took over.
it's tempting. You know, like I get it. But it's another like, you know, one of the few ways you could probably throw this game would be, you know, like you guys take a fight when your teammates are in base and suddenly like you all die and then, you know, maybe you could lose. I mean, it looks pretty over from this point. So you're probably, yeah, it looks like you're chilling. So, all right, if we were going to make a list of like what the most important things for you are to work on, I'd say probably number one is like consistently spending gold before a fight.
And
So
the gold.
again, like yeah, trying to make sure that like you reset before key objectives. Don't worry too much about the random fights that break out. Like you don't need to beat all of them, and just always kind of have in the back of your head like if you have a lot of gold in your inventory, you've got to be real careful. You know, like be really careful choosing fights, and maybe you should have gotten a base off already. Um, I think another one would be yeah, kind of just like, I mean, it goes hand in hand with that, but like choosing fights in general. So like a lot of choosing fights is obviously you want to think about like the numbers and like how strong you are and stuff, but sometimes it's like what actually comes from the fight as well. You know, like one actually OP thing about Ziggs is even if you're not involved in the fight, sometimes you can just ult the wave and they like can't actually do anything. You know what I mean? Like you can
Hmm.
just like for example, let's say you're pushing top and your team gets wiped mid. If you could ult the mid wave, it's not actually that bad because they can't get anything. You know, like it could even be
Hmm.
worth it for you. Probably not if they all die, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like you can one kind of assess like
And
what
stop the
happens
push.
after, but yeah, two, you can neutralize a lot of like these bad fights anyway. Um, so is that choosing fights in mid game. And I guess the other thing would be like I think the early, well, I'd say wave control levels like 1 to 3.
Yeah.
Like I definitely think you made that pretty hard for yourself. So again, like focus on 2 wave crash, harass under turret, then you know like get your wards set up and everything, and then the wave will come back and you'll be like pretty chill. Is there anything else major? Maybe the cooldowns thing. It's hard for me to say if that's like that big a deal because I haven't seen your other games. But again, like one piece of advice I heard was like, you know, kind of treat every. It's kind of hard to do this in reality, but treat every cooldown as if it's like life or death. You know, like every cooldown should matter. You should never be throwing your cooldowns out kind of haphazardly. You know what I mean? Like there should
Hmm.
be really like thought and weight behind each of them, and that makes sure that like you don't just you know waste them or throw them out for fun. So there maybe that, and like there is a little bit of itemization. I think you should go a pen item second, but I don't know. It wasn't that big a deal because I didn't stack too much matrices, so it's kind of okay. Yeah. So let me copy that to you. Do you have any other thoughts, questions, anything you wanna say?
I think I need to put more attention into the levels 1 to 3 push into melee specifically, because
Yeah.
I would say like pretty consistently I've been trying to play fast lanes into poke or control mages, artillery mages, and that's made a big difference in how my lanes look. But I haven't had a plan as far as like slow push and bouncing and exactly where that lands me into melee matchups.
Yeah.
So that's something I need to explore a little bit more for sure.
Yeah, it's something that I think is like a little champ to champ specific too. You know, like it can be you know, like for example, playing against a Kali with Electrocute is really different from playing against
Sure.
well Zed, and actually sometimes even like champ to champ, like or sorry, within the champ, rune to rune, it can be different. So like take Silas, you know, like Silas if he has
Mhm.
Conqueror, you normally go for like this 2 wave crash, but if Silas has Electrocute, like he's kind of just so strong level 1 that you like have to give the prio immediately, you know. So there is going to be probably some teething issues, I suppose. Like you're gonna get punished for this a
Yeah.
few times when you fuck it up, but it is really, really important because it's the kind of thing that will, you know, like probably close to half your games are gonna be melee matchups, especially in this elo. So, you know, if like half your games are fucking up the wave control, it's gonna be pretty difficult to, you know, like really grow in those sort of matchups. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that like bigger picture across lots of Ziggs games, I need to be more intentional about not baiting myself into trying to kill early,
Mm,
because I found that like taking like 80% of my enemy laner's HP is just as difficult as taking the last 20%
Oh
because they're
yeah,
like way
especially with
more
these D
nervous that they're
shield
gonna die.
abusers. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I will routinely find that like there's a kill angle there, and I'll bait myself into like Q flashing on someone, and then if I miss, like I either die in the moment or I'm instant jungle food.
Yeah, yeah,
So
for sure.
I think that like playing the slower scaling game like would net me greater success across the board, but
Yeah, I think you might
you know,
also find like obviously killing D shield abusers is pretty hard anyway, but you know, like we did talk a little bit about how like you do use a lot of cooldowns like on the wave that maybe you don't need to. You know, like the luxury of
mm,
playing against the melee, right? It's like you have range autos and they don't. So you can very easily secure prior with just autos without having to commit cooldowns, you know. So that means that
mm,
I think I didn't count, but I suspect you wasted like upwards of 300 mana on the wave that you didn't need to. And like, you know, if you had
sure.
300 mana worth more of Qs, like maybe you could kill him if he misplays. Like, I don't think you should be able to,
Mhm.
but you know, like it's gold, right? Like there are going to be people that will die to this. So again, that's the kind of thing where you might just find if your wave control gets better and your cooldown usage get better, you know, maybe some of the you know you're stuck and you can't kill that last 20%, that might just go away,
Yeah.
you know, at least for a
I
while.
find like when I am intentional to not be trying to trade and kill, like I get way more CS collected. Like when my
Yeah,
mental stack is not on trying to punish. So it's just something I could probably make the game easier for myself if I just focused on my early game farm. And also I found if I'm throwing Qs like on cooldown, trying to like poke the enemy, like they get really on edge and good at dodging stuff.
yeah.
Or if you play more passively and just kind of like farm, then they go stand next to the minions and eat a
Sure,
high
then you can
value
just get a
Q.
few
So
freebies. Yeah,
yeah, so that's
yeah,
something
I get what you're
I
saying.
probably need to do. Cool.
Okay.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate the coaching.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for being the what's it called, the training dummy, the test dummy for this.